Oh, what do we got here? Oh, shit! Wires. So many wires. No! Ah! Yes, if you haven't guessed it, next step is wires. I already have this harness kind of pulled apart. You're gonna have, little worm things and duct tape everywhere. Spare wires, which I've already removed the things. But the point of this is, number one, you want to remove what you're not using. I mean, I guess that's optional. You could just have flopping around connectors if that's the way you like to roll. But for me, rear O2 sensors removed, DOD activator thing removed. Probably gonna be some air conditioning things removed. Fuel tank, pressure sensor, evap crap, all getting stripped out. I mean, you might think that you can just leave those plugs in there, but the part where it becomes a pain in the ass is that every sensor has a power wire. And you're gonna get to where you have to hook up all these power wires, these pinks, to 12 volts, and you're gonna have to tie them all together, and you don't wanna have extra wires, when you don't need them for that. So, the major components you're gonna have to think about too is, there's gonna be some external things which you need to splice into these plugs. One is all the gas pedal connectors. There's gonna be, I think, 6 to 9 different wires for that. There's going to be a low speed fan output, a high speed fan output, tachometer output, and might be forgetting something, but those are the main ones. Oh, the OBD2 port. That one can be a pain. You gotta have somewhere to plug your computer into after all. But yeah, those are things where you're gonna have to they might not have a wire to them already, and you're gonna have to add a wire. That's where removing extra wires really pays off, because, where is it? See, when you remove them, you get this nice length of wire with a pin, which you can then insert into whatever receptacle they need be. So I guess I'll show you how I took these apart. How you pop these plugs open, stuff of that nature. To get it out, once you have it open, you just grab whatever pin you want and rip it out. Use some little thin needle nose pliers or something with little tiny tips to pull them out. And then to get them in, you just feed them in. So one of the first things you need to do is figure out what computer you have. Let's see what we got here. This is my computer for this model, make, year, whatever car. It's called an E67. Unfortunately, there's not good information on that one. There's a website, lt1swap.com, which simplifies the shit out of your life for wiring. It has like the full diagram, and it says remove this wire, add a wire here. Makes it really simple, and they had that for the E38 computer, which is in this one. Might as well show you. Does your computer look like this? Then you have an E38. Potentially something else, but yeah, 2 plugs on that one. For me, I had to kind of do some deep digging. I just bought a alternator bracket. But here we go. Alright, so this is a good website. Download.efilive.com/tutorial/bench harness tutorial. This will have every single model computer, and it will tell you. So see, here's mine. It'll tell you OBD2. These are the pins on your OBD2 connector, and these are what you connect them to on your computer. So like you see here, I need to put on the black plug, see, black one here, gray one, and blue one. On the black one, pin 23 goes to OBD2, 4, and 5. That's going to be a ground. And then blue pin 20 goes to 16, maybe that's a power. Gray 53 goes to 6, that's like a GM LAN. Yeah, I'm here. CAN plus, CAN minus. So that's one site. Any one of these LS computers, you can figure out how to hook up your OBD2 port. Very helpful. And then the wiring diagram I found repairsprocedures.com electronic service system. I googled it, E67, and came up with this good, nice ass document PDF. It has every single plug on the car broken down. So you see here's ECM X3 plug, which is the gray one, and it'll give you the pin numbers and what they hook into. And here's where it's the important part. It's a column with the circuit number. So if you're like, oh, what the fuck is low reference go to? And then you can look up this 469 number and it will link it to another plug in there. So for instance, like there's some 5-volt refs and stuff, which I'm like, what the fuck? But this circuit number will tie it to like the throttle pedal circuit, and you're like, okay, so it's that pin on the throttle pedal goes to this pin on the computer. That's everything you need to know. That pin goes there, bam, done. And once you got those diagrams, it's simply a matter of popping these bitches open, counting the pins. The picture will have, you know, this little dingleberry hanging off to the side, and it'll be like, all right, this is pin 1 on the top to pin 17 or something, and then pin 18 to 30 and so forth, and they'll label them and how they go, and you just count them to see which pin it is you need to mess with. It's freaking hot in here, man. I'm losing my breath. It's like 98% humidity, 98 degrees. But yeah, once you got that, pretty much done. This is the transmission computer which comes with mine, so I haven't unwrapped that because I know I don't want to fuck with the transmission computer. It needs all its sensors, you know, let it have them all. This big ass plug here, I cut off. Looking at it, most of these are wires for like cruise control and the accelerator pedal. Some of them need to be removed. They're just no-go wires, I guess. I'm pretty sure this fat ass purple one goes, from what I remember, goes to the starter. But since you're putting this car in or this motor in a different car, you don't care about this starter wire. You hook it into whatever the key originally went to the starter. Use that same wire for the starter. Get rid of that thing. Throw it out. But once you get your wiring done, everything's working. You got to reprogram it, remove vehicle anti-theft system. Probably going to have to disable starter checks, which what it does is it makes sure stuff like your brake is pressed in park, which you might not wire up or something. Things like that. Disable a bunch of codes for the sensors you removed. You have to wire in your, where's my damn light? You have to wire in your OBD2 port and your gas pedal. You're going to want to hook those up somewhere. So for me, I'll just plug in the OBD2 somewhere here. I already have the gas pedal in there. Can you see? Yeah. I just welded a bolt on one side and reused the bolt hole on the top. And then, you know, you're gonna have to get relays. Relays are what you need for all the high current drawing, aka high power accessories. I got a bunch of relays because I know I was gonna need some. Pretty cheap. A relay is basically, in case you don't know, it's like a switch. So you got all these wires, right? You can't take this little baby bitch wire and power an entire humongous electric fan with it. You know, that's why you see the batteries have these big fucking cables coming off of them. The thicker they are, the more power they can handle. So for the case of all these accessories, which get turned on, such as the fans and the fuel pump. That's another thing you're going to need to run a wire for, fuel pump relay. All these wires you use to trigger a relay, so they tell it to turn on and off, and then what it does is it closes a switch in here, which is powered by a big fat wire, which gives you power to your electrical component. So you're going to need a relay for the fan high to fan low. If you're using 2 fans or 2-speed fan, you might just use one, so you'll need one. In that case, you'll need a relay for your fuel pump. The fuel pump relay will be ground triggered, I believe. You're going to need a relay just to turn on all these pink wires. So same thing your car has when you turn the key from on to ACC or whatever. It turns on all your other devices in the car. That's through a relay. So you're going to have a relay which, when you turn the key, sends the trigger signal to put power to all these pink wires. And then that's pretty much it. So that's what, like 4 relays. I think I got this pack of 5 with the female plug thingies for like I don't know, $20 or something. They're pretty cheap. And once you get everything wired up, you should be able to, just about crank this bitch. Right now this thing's almost ready. I got my buddy's welding on some tranny cooler fittings for me right now for the radiator, because it came with some bullshit ones. And then I need to extend the exhaust. I just got the headers in, stock ones. I need to put the ends on with the O2 sensors, wire, plumb up the fuel, and then I can crank this bitch. But yeah, I'm gonna show you how to open these up, and that's pretty much it. I've shown you the websites, what to look for, how to tie the wires together. Just do that, be careful. I mean, it's not really a big task, honestly. You got a shit ton of wires, but it's not like you're on your back getting dirty, shit falling in your eyes, shit catching fire. You just got some clean wires. You just take some time, take some patience. Read the little diagrams. See that number 12 goes to number 12, and make the connection between the wires. And before you know it, you're good. You save yourself, whatever they charge, like $500+ on a harness. You saved all that shit, and it's gonna work because that's what worked in the first place, the factory harness. So enjoy. All right, so for removing a wire, once you have your plug all opened up, make sure you have the wires straight so that they'll slide easily out of this rubber piece and this holder. You just grab them and pull them through. I have little wire clipper snips, which I just kind of, one-handed action. There we go. I just grab them like that and pull them out. Once they're off their little pegs here, you can just grab them by hand, pull them the rest of the way. But it's pretty simple. Keep those leftovers for now, because you might reuse them. This car, I had a damn giant spider web ball on the floor for months, because I was like, I might use these wires, and the wife was not happy with that. But I did use some of those wires. So in case you looked, getting color-coded wires of various lengths is not cheap. So I mean, this is definitely worth keeping them. You might have to extend some wires, so you want to use the same color wire, you happen to have it from one of these, you need to wire up something in there, something over here, then save yourself some dollars and use what you got. What you don't got though is probably going to be the beefy fat wires, which are going to feed the relays. So those, you're probably going to want to pick up a spool of thick, black wire and red wire, so you can differentiate the positive and negatives. But yeah, that's all there is to it. Just keep doing it, and after a long time, it will be done. And you'll have a motor ready to start up. Okay, so was going through this connector, removing everything I don't need, and I ran into something. So this is wire 33 and wire 53, these two, which are the GM LAN ports needed for the OBD2 port, and they are already in use by the TCM. So you encounter something like this, what you do is you get some extra wire. I made it nice and long because OBD2 port's going to go somewhere far away. And I got my soldering iron. If you don't have one, you should probably get one, so you don't ghetto rig things. But I'm just going to cut the wire and then splice these in, you know, like so, if you get the idea, you know. Cut it, put this one in, solder it in, cut this one, solder it in, and label these as the corresponding pins for the OBD2 port. So yeah, if you encounter a place where the pin's already there being used, splice it. I suggest you use a soldering iron because you don't want to just tape that bitch on there and electrical tape it. It'll probably come off. Get one of these. That's all you need. Just simplicity about electrical work. All you need: soldering iron, solder, thin solder. The fat stuff takes too long to melt and you'll just start burning stuff. And then, you know, you got your spare wires, get some wire cutters. Heat shrink tubing, also nice to have. I have some of that. Instead of using electrical tape, that's probably what I'll do. Be sure you put the heat shrink tubing on before you solder it back together. But yeah, that's that. Alright, so illustrating what I was talking about. See, I cut these two wires. This is my added one. Stripped them, tied them all together. Soldered it back at my little heat shrink tube. And then I can push this tube over. Sorry. Hard to do at the same time. And there we go. So now I have the tube over, it's covering it. Take a heat gun, hair dryer, and this will shrink tight. Seal it off, and that's one side done. Do it for the other. And you're good. Easy splice. Alright, fast forward a couple minutes. This is the finished product. Heat shrink wrapped on it with the splices coming out and then wired. CAN plus and fan low. No, not that one. CAN minus. So yeah, keep those labeled. I just fold a piece of tape on them, write on them for later use, and run them into wherever you're going to put your OBD2 ports. So it's done. That's what you're left with. Spider webs of wires. Everything labeled that needs to go places. CAN, cruise, fan high, excessive ACC voltage. All these app sensors, which are the throttle pedal. The only thing I had to do, I had to go into the TCM pins because I had some spare pins. I think there was only one unused wire for there. Before I said that there's already a pin 3353 which I needed for the OBD2 port, which I spliced into. Seemed unnecessary because coming out of the TCM was an unused coil of wire right here, which is the same LAN, GM LAN wires, so I could have used those instead of splicing in. I had to go through here. This is the some tranny connectors. I had to go through all those things. So this is the part neutral switch, so it tells all the gears. This is some wire I cut, which is like a starter relay, so I guess you can't start the car in gear or something. So not really going to be used on this car. Guess I could make it work, but no, in this car, I'm just going to connect the key to the starter. But yeah, the only wires which are left, which I have unaccounted for, are these three, which go somewhere into the harness underneath. So I have a feeling they might be like for something like the AC compressor or something, I don't know. I'll trace those down though. There's also another weird plug, this thing. So on this car there's this, looks like an amp current monitoring thing on the negative terminal, which shows like, wonder what that does. But there's a plug which goes in there, and this actually controls the, I guess, duty cycle of the alternator. So it was this plug right here, which also has some wires coming off. I had to look at the diagram. Two of them go to battery hot. Another one was this white wire, which I removed, which was some sort of signal wire which goes to the HVAC system. So that's not used on this car. So yeah, it's all done. Took me like what, 5-6 hours to do it all. Got a nice mess, but now I can wrap the wires up and hook them up to the relays, and it's done. Wiring's done. Can actually turn the key and crank the bitch. I guess I can eventually show you how to wire up relays, but there's plenty of instructions on how to do that online. Just look up relay wiring. There's going to be like 5 different pins on them or something. You hook up a ground, a power, trigger, stuff like that. But yeah, hope you enjoyed.